In the ancient kingdom of Mingxiao, nobles lived behind carved red gates and embroidered their lives with silk and gold. Among them was the Han family, known for its strict traditions and even stricter matriarch, Lady Han. Her daughter-in-law from the first son, Lin Yu, was once the pride of the household. Beautiful, gentle, and gifted in the art of talisman weaving, she had been cherished by the servants and adored by the townspeople. But that very beauty and talent became the reason for her downfall. Lady Han admired her in public but despised her in the privacy of her chambers. She believed Lin Yu overshadowed her own daughter, Han Ro, whose charms dimmed in comparison. The jealousy grew like mold, dark and damp in the corners of her heart. With the help of a fortune-teller who practiced forbidden mountain magic, she plotted the collapse of Lin Yu's fate and fortune. She commissioned a soul-binding bracelet made of black and silver threads and nightshade resin. The bracelet promised to slowly drain luck, health, and spirit from the wearer while transferring it to the one the curse favored. On the morning of the Mid-Autumn Festival, Lady Han gifted Lin Yu the bracelet wrapped in embroidered cloth. Lin Yu wore it out of respect, unaware of the curse. Within days her health began to crumble. She tripped over nothing. Her embroidery unraveled itself in her hands. Her husband turned cold. Whispers filled the courtyard blaming her incompetence and misfortune. Han Ro began to flourish in her place, glowing almost unnaturally while Lin Yu faded like an ink stroke washed by rain. Lin Yu died alone in the ancestral shrine. She heard the last mocking words of Han Ro saying that weak birds were meant to fall from the sky. She heard Lady Han's triumphant whisper promising that no one would remember a daughter-in-law who brought shame. Her spirit slipped into darkness with bitterness sharp as frost. But heaven is not blind. A stroke of divine mercy fell like a silver feather from the sky. Lin Yu opened her eyes again. She was in her old bedroom. Her mother was alive. She was 16 again, just before her engagement to the Han family. Her hands were smooth. Her breath warm. The curse had never been placed on her. The blackened bracelet was nowhere in sight. Her heart pounded as truth dawned on her. She had been reborn, carrying memories of every betrayal and every moment of her slow death. This time she refused to walk into the Han household like a lamb into a slaughterhouse. She decided to turn the game against the very people who had once destroyed her. She accepted the engagement again but with a silent oath running beneath her calm smile. She would not be the same obedient daughter-in-law. She would be the storm that erased the rot festering behind the carved red gates. Upon entering the household in this new life, she observed everything with cold clarity. Han Ro pretended sweetness, but Lin Yu could see the envy flickering in her eyes like dying embers. Lady Han greeted her with a warm facade, the same false affection from her past life. But Lin Yu carried the knowledge of what lay beneath that facade. She pretended innocence, offering polite bows and soft smiles. The matriarch believed she still had the upper hand. Lin Yu waited for the moment she knew would come. The cursed bracelet returned. Lady Han attempted to gift it to her during a small family ceremony, acting as though it were a treasured heirloom. But Lin Yu intentionally dropped it and feigned awe at its beauty. Quietly, she slipped it into Han Ro's jewelry tray later that night, placing it in plain view among her sister-in-law's favorite hairpins. The next morning Han Ro discovered it and, drawn to its beauty and aura of luck, clasped it onto her wrist. For the first few days, everything seemed perfect to her. She won the favor of guests. She sang beautifully in front of elders. Her embroidery suddenly improved. But then the heavens collected their payment. She began experiencing small accidents. Her voice cracked during a family banquet. Her prized robe suffered tears no one could explain. Suitors who once adored her found excuses to distance themselves. The curse was working with fierce hunger now that its rightful victim had rejected it. Lady Han panicked when she saw the bracelet on Han Ro's wrist. The matriarch tried to pry it off but the silver threads burned her fingers. Rumors quickly spread among servants that the young miss had touched a forbidden object. Han Ro accused Lin Yu, but Lin Yu merely looked heartbroken and asked why she would harm her own family. Her gentle tone fooled the entire hall, leaving Han Ro furious and embarrassed. Lin Yu infiltrated deeper into the household secrets. She discovered forged prescriptions that Lady Han had once used to weaken her. She uncovered letters showing Han Ro had bribed servants to spread lies about her past life failures. She found the fortune teller who had created the soul-draining bracelet and forced him to admit everything. She collected every piece of evidence like a hunter collecting arrows. When the day of confrontation arrived, she presented all of it to the Patriarch, Lord Han, who had been misled for years. She laid the cursed bracelet, the forged medicine scrolls, and the confession letter before him. His face went pale. His pride shattered. Lady Han rushed in screaming that Lin Yu was framing them, but Lin Yu no longer trembled or hid behind tears. She calmly described her past suffering in a voice steady enough to silence the hall. Lord Han stripped his wife of authority and confined her to the inner courtyard. Han Ro lost her status and private tutors. Their political allies withdrew in fear of entangling themselves with cursed items and forbidden magic. For the first time, Lin Yu saw them taste a fraction of the misery they had once fed her. But revenge was only half of her story. She realized she did not want to live bound to any household or marriage. She had walked into death once for a family that never loved her. She refused to waste her second life in the same cage. She returned her wedding ornaments, bowed respectfully to Lord Han, and announced her departure. Her husband pleaded with her. Han Ro cried. Even Lady Han shouted desperate apologies through the courtyard gate, but Lin Yu walked out without looking back. She traveled to the riverside town of Xuanling where she established a talisman workshop using her forgotten talent. Her creation seemed to carry a celestial blessing. Business flourished rapidly. Nobles traveled miles to seek her protection talismans. Scholars praised her rare artistry. Soon she built a grand atelier surrounded by plum blossoms and wind chimes. In this new life, she chose freedom over family politics, purpose over pain. She lived with dignity and strength, knowing she had rewritten her destiny with her own hands. The Han household slowly declined, bit by bit, consumed by the same poison they once tried to feed her. None of them dared to approach her again. And so Lin Yu lived her reborn life not as a victim of curses but as a master of her own fate. She had risen from ashes and returned to the world sharper, wiser, and unstoppable. Her past life taught her sorrow. Her rebirth taught her power. And her future belonged to no one but herself.